What's the fastest way to reach 10,000 followers on Instagram? And is it really true that showing your face in the first story of the day will actually boost your reach? Well, I've taken some of the Instagram hacks and tricks that you have found on the internet and sent me over, and I've done a fact check with each of them. So you'll actually know what works and what doesn't growing and monetizing an Instagram account. Starting with the first, which is that showing your face and having a poll as the first story of your day boosts your reach by quite a bit. So let's take a look at what she has to say.
This Instagram story hack increased my engagement ×3. Your first story of the day should include your face and a poll. Polls attract a ton of engagement, which will put it closer to the top of everyone's feed. You can hide up to 30 hashtags in your story post and tag your location for a higher reach. Follow for more.
Okay, there's some truth to that. However, we've done some research and we figured out that the Instagram story algorithm will actually push out your content more if certain metrics are being met. Now, these metrics heavily depend on how your audience actually reacts to your content. And the metrics being mostly about, view time, how long people view the story, how many people exit, for example, how many people actually interact with your stories. Polls, for example, is a good indicator. And I hate to break it to you, for some people, their face might not be the biggest asset. And the algorithm knows that. For example, we ran some split tests with some clients and we figured out that for some of them, having a black background with just a text in it and maybe a poll will actually get them better results than their face. Kind of sucks for them, but that's just the way the world works. Now, why is that? Because in the past, their audience reacted better to content like this, and they probably still continue to react better with just black background in that case. Same with polls, actually. Yes, in general, polls are a very good tool to actually get up engagement, to get up interactions in terms of stories, to get more reach. But sometimes they just don't. Some audience just don't care. Some polls are just not good. So if the algorithm sees, well, compared to similar posts, this poll or polls on that account don't seem to be working that well, obviously the algorithm cares the most about giving your audience the best time. So figuring out what kind of content actually performs better and then delivering that content to your audience is actually the way to go. But I'd say she's right. 3 out of 5 times a face with the poll is gonna do the trick. Now the second one is actually pretty interesting because it's titled the fastest way to reach 10,000 followers. Now let's take a look at it. Okay, read the caption for real tips. All right, so she's actually doing, it's kind of meta, but she's actually doing some good things in terms of her Reels content. She's first of all making you watch the Reels through because there's some revealing content. Second of all, she makes you open up the caption, which gets the watch time up way more. And as you can see in the background, while you read the caption, the Reels continue to keep playing, which is obviously good for the algorithm, which is why you can see that this Reels actually has 7,000 likes already. And she doesn't have that many followers, just 18,000 followers. And as you can see, this one Reels that we just watched has 218,000 views. And this is actually why it blew up. But basically, she said, well, the fastest way to 10,000 followers is creating valuable content that resonates with the right people. Duh. First, post consistently. Second, provide educational yet entertaining content. Third, using Instagram's features to the fullest. Reels, stories, live video. Engagement also plays a huge role. Commenting and liking others' content is huge for the algorithm. But let's roll this thing out. First of all, she says, have the perfect Instagram grid is not good, which is actually true. The grid theme and stuff like this is actually not that important. It certainly helps if this whole thing is not too shabby. But I'd say in general, there's a very, very low bar in terms of how well your theme should be put together. But however, there is a bar, low one, but there's a bar. Obviously, this whole thing depends on your niche. If you're all about minimalism, aesthetic, and design and stuff like this, probably it's a little more important than if you have, let's say, business advice. Then, for example, her. Not that important for her. The next thing she says, follow and follow. We know that it's bad. The next thing she says, it's actually not that important, is post every single day. And I have some interesting insights about this whole thing. Because Later.com actually did some research which pretty much correlates with the data that we've gathered here on our marketing agency, which basically says that if you're under 1,000 followers, the more feed posts that you share on Instagram per week, the better. They say both reach and engagement rates per post improve as posting frequency increases per week, with the average engagement rate climbing from 3.1% at 1 post per week to 4.9% at 20 posts per week, which is kind of a lot, but data doesn't lie. On the other hand, they say for accounts between 1,000 and 250,000 followers, it's kind of a broad range if you ask me, but they say reach rate per post still improves as more feed posts are shared, but engagement rates see a significant decline. Yeah, first of all, kind of like a stretch between 1,000 and 250,000. I don't know why they group them together like that, but let's just say if you're focusing on Reels, which you, by the way, should, if you're all about growing your audience fast, hammering out daily reels is certainly the way to go. As we can see, as we have tons of data and case studies out there, not necessarily because the algorithm favors that, which is a factor, but not a big one, but basically because you get a feel for the platform, because you get a feel for how reels work and how your audience actually reacts to the reels that you make. You know, going back to the first thing we talked about. Now, if you're all about getting your reels game up and growing your audience with reels, no matter what kind of content you have and stuff like this, we're gonna have a reels challenge coming up here on this channel. So stay tuned. Probably in the next coming weeks, you're gonna see a video, obviously, and it's gonna be free, just so you know. Now, the next one is actually a pretty interesting one from an account called BRock11 Johnson, and he's like, stop posting stories. Now, what does he mean with that? If your goal is growth, the feed comes first. He says, fact, Instagram stories won't grow your following. If your goal is to grow your following, it's not going to happen using Instagram stories. On Instagram, the amount of followers gained from stories is less than 1%. If you're prioritizing stories over feed posts, then you're doing it wrong in Instagram. Let me break it down for you. Feed, serve your audience, reach new people, grow your following. Stories, connect with your audience, build better relationships, interact with existing followers. Stories are a useful piece of Instagram, but the feed comes first. Now, he's actually right about this whole thing in the sense that for audience growth, stories actually don't do nothing at all directly. However, and this is actually the big thing, not posting stories at all just because your main goal is growth is actually not the best strategy. It's actually a very bad strategy. Just think about it like that. You get traffic through reels or carousels in the Explorer. Lots of new people come to your profile, and usually content like this is sort of polished, but creating the right stories first and foremost builds a strong connection with your followers because it's not polished, and it actually might push the one or the other over the edge to actually follow you because they see, well, this is actually relatable. This is actually funny to watch. This actually gives me another angle of value. So don't completely dismiss this whole story thing if you're just thinking about growing. Or let's just say you have an awesome lifestyle, which a lot of you guys actually have, and your stories actually showcase, these interesting or entertaining things. And you've actually identified, let's say, stories as your main content pillar because this is what's your thing, unfiltered raw content, shooting it out as you go. What do you do if you still want to grow? Obviously, number one, which is kind of an overlooked thing in Instagram growth, influencer marketing. Basically getting shout outs from bigger players in your niche or similar niches with an audience overlap. And yeah, we've actually done some campaigns with some clients and things like that work like a charm. If you have the right niche, obviously, if you have the right content, and if you have the right audience overlap, obviously. Yeah, that one's actually bull, and I'm actually sorry to be so direct, but I see lots of people might actually like this because they get a good feeling out of this whole content. They're like, woo, I'm this unique snowflake and I can finally be whatever I want. But unfortunately, my friends, that's just not how the game works. And as a result of that, that's not how social media algorithms work. Like it or not, and I know lots of you guys are gonna say right now, ooh, social media algorithms so bad. But to be honest, it's never actually been like that. Even before the internet was a thing. Everything is a product of others' influences, especially if you're just starting out. You probably don't exactly know what you wanna do or how you wanna do it. So imitating your inspirations is very beneficial to finding your own style as you go along. Ever heard about Bob Ross, for example? Well, he was not the first to do these things. Conan wanted to be like Letterman. Letterman wanted to be like Johnny Carson, and Carson wanted to be like Jack Benny. Now, would you say that neither of them are unique? Probably not. So get inspired, right? Of course you're unique. By imitating, by getting inspiration from other accounts. First of all, they kind of give you pre-validated data in terms of this is a niche that actually works. This is content in general that actually works or not. And at some point, you're just gonna have your own style. So that's just how the game works. We all do it, by the way. Instagram's algorithm switched up. It now favors shares plus saves and comments over likes. Add a call to action, post save-worthy content, okay. Put save this for later or share with your bestie in your caption, okay. This is a call to action. Encourage commenting. Okay, so she's all about, call to actions, and that actually likes are not important anymore. Again, like with most of these things from today, there's some truth to that, but it's actually not that simple. First of all, this whole likes are not important anymore depends on the content. With Reels, for example, it seems like it's not as important anymore percentage-wise as with feed posts. However, if we take a look at actual information Instagram gave us firsthand in their, talking about how their algorithm works, they say the most important actions to rank on Explore include likes, saves, and shares. I'm gonna spare you the details. We've done a video on that actually, but according to them, this whole thing, ranking on the Explore page and getting your reach up, actually is a combination of all things combined, because that's what you should focus on anyway with the whole new Instagram algorithm. Creating good content humans love, not the algorithm. And if a human actually enjoys a certain piece of content, all these things, play together. Likes, share, save. So yes, in a sense, likes are not as important anymore as they used to be, because now everything together is sort of important. And if you want to know more about how certain metrics play a role in getting your reels, for example, to blow up, you need to watch this video right there.